So you are fully aware that the president is suing your agency for $10 billion.
Yeah.
We would agree. Would you agree that $10 billion is a good sum of money?
Yes, sir.
Where would that be cut from? Let's say for some reason he actually wins that lawsuit. Where would that $10 billion come from?
Again, it would come from...
Process-wise. I'm not asking like your opinion whether it's right or wrong.
It would come from Treasury.
It comes from Treasury, which comes from the general fund?
The Treasury general account.
So taxpayers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Part of the 440,000 taxpayers whose returns were leaked.
If the president, they're not suing.
Say what you will about Donald Trump, and you're probably right. I mean, the grift never stops when it comes to MAGA and Trump's petty, incredibly strange, very asinine lawsuit against his own IRS over a contracted employee leaking his tax return years ago, because Trump's very good at just letting it be water under the bridge and moving on to focus on what's important to the American people. I'm kidding. It's just the latest example of how our country's oligarchs have zero remorse about screwing regular people over to make a quick buck, which leads us to this very unpleasant person.
Is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw it reported today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats.
And that unpleasant person laughing is Commerce Secretary Howard the Duck Lutnick, who hopefully will not be laughing like that for a long time because of this.
Lutnick, who lived next door to Epstein for more than a decade.
That's my story. A one and absolutely done.
After a visit to Epstein's home, describing him as gross.
I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage?
But part of the 3 million pages of newly released DOJ files show Lutnick and Epstein remained in contact well past 2005, as recently as 2018. One email with Epstein's schedule for May 1st, 2011, showing plans for drinks with Lutnick. And in December 2012, other documents showing Lutnick and his family plan to visit Epstein's private island. At the end of that month, the two both investing in the same business, their signatures seen here on legal documents. Some of these interactions with Lutnick coming years after Epstein first pled guilty to sex crimes in 2008.
The committee is keeping an ongoing list of individuals we would like to subpoena. It's really important for folks to understand that in order for us to subpoena anybody, the majority has to consent. And so while we appreciate that there is bipartisan cooperation in this case, we have a whole list of individuals we would like to subpoena before the committee that they have not consented to. Of course, we would like to speak to Secretary Lutnick, and I personally believe that Mr. Lutnick needs to step down immediately.
Tell us how you really feel, Stansberry. That is, Rep. Melanie Stansberry calling for Lutnick to step down over the Epstein files, which, look, I don't disagree, but trying to get him to come and testify, your next sentence probably shouldn't be, and I think personally you should step down because it's not going to be a friendly room. Maybe say, we'd like to come hear you out before we make a determination, even though that is your real opinion. And look, I'm personally shocked that somebody in the Trump administration lied, and at that lied about the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I can't believe that Lutnick got caught saying it was one and done. He thought the guy was gross and never saw him again after 2005. And then as late as 2017, he was still talking with Epstein and arranging a trip for his family, a nice family trip to Epstein's Island, which is really not known for its family programming. But, it's up to you to determine whether you want your world leaders going to sex trafficking islands or not. I personally am against it. But, that's your choice. This is a free country. I think still it is anymore. I'm not really sure about anything. But, I'm just sharing the facts with you folks. And look, of course, this also shows the entitlement and flagrant disregard for the law the world's richest and most powerful people operate with. But it's not just the individuals, it's sort of the collective whole of our government today, especially this MAGA infused and run by and corrupted by government. Like the Freedom 250 group. This is a group that is a MAGA infused and MAGA created group that is trying to celebrate America's semi-quincentennial, a name that should have been thought of to use a word that's less difficult to say, basically celebrating America's 250th anniversary. Problem being, Congress already appropriated a lot of money, many, many millions, for like $150 million for the congressionally approved America 250 groups, of course, Trump had his people create a totally different group with a very similar name to trick people called Freedom 250. And most of the funds that are supposed to go to America 250 are being diverted to Trump's thing, where they literally are taking sponsorships from people at minimum of $500,000. And for $1 million and more, you get to get a photo op with President Trump, getting literally access to power for money. It's straight up bribery and corruption. And at higher levels, you even get to speak at the July 4th event, because the speaker should be chosen based upon who spends the most money. I think that makes a ton of sense. There's all kinds of perks you can get throughout the whole year. And this Freedom 250 group is funding lots of things like important, essential government functions, such as the UFC fight that will be happening on the White House lawn for the president's 80th birthday. We need that. We need this as a country. An Indy race across Washington, D.C. That one actually sounds kind of cool. As well as an Arc de Triomphe style arch near the Lincoln Memorial looking over Washington. That one also is cool. But cool or not, it shouldn't be spent with taxpayer money when that wasn't what it was appropriated for. So stuff could be cool and it could be privately funded, but not with access to the President of the United States and not with diverting taxpayer money to do so. But of course it's what happens. These high-level ultra-rich donors will receive incredible access if they give incredible amounts of money. And Freedom 250 is just another small example of the general corruption, not just of the Trump administration, which is incredibly obvious and incredibly corrupt, but in general of our corrupt government on both sides of the aisle, where money gets you access. Getting money is the only way you actually get to remain with any sort of access to the halls of power or even the chance to get towards the halls of power. We have to get these special interests and the influence of money out of our politics. When I ran for president of the United States, our campaign at some point just couldn't afford to continue bringing our message to the American people, because I remember it was the Lincoln Dinner, I believe it was called, in Iowa, that to speak and maintain on the same stages we'd been speaking with, I had been speaking at, alongside the other major candidates, all of a sudden it was something like $50,000 to speak to the arena. We just didn't have that kind of money left. And to have just a booth at the event, which would be nothing compared to speaking at the event, was still like $5,000. And we didn't think that was a wise expenditure of money. And our campaign shortly after was not able, literally financially, to compete. Much like the DNC didn't even acknowledge my campaign or write us back when we just wanted to get any sort of guidance or help. Or even like a hello, welcome to the race, because we didn't have the money. We weren't the billionaires or the already entrenched politicians that our government loves to kiss up to. And so the halls of power remain for the rich and connected and wealthy. The rest of us get to help fund people beating the of each other on the lawn of the White House, as God and George Washington intended. And God and George Washington are the same guy, right? I'm not sure anymore, but I think so. You can follow me for a very special project coming out very soon that'll bring a lot of entertainment to you if you go to YouTube and subscribe at youtube.com/@goodnight. Trust me on this one. youtube.com/@goodnight. Lots of entertainment coming very soon, and currently lots of stand-up comedy clips coming your way as a break from all the corruption. I'm not making any money on this channel, but if I do in the future, it'll be legit money for stuff I earned and nobody bribing me. That's my pledge to you. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. Thanks so much. Hope you have a good day and or night. Bye.